Hello there, my name's Annette with Sunbeam Fabric Art. Welcome to my channel. Today we're working on block 4 of our Scrappy Stash Quilt Along. The block we're doing today is in Barbara Brackman's encyclopedia, and it's a variation of shoe fly and churn dash. The pieces that we're cutting out are almost identical to last week's, but just by changing up the colors and adding a third color, we get a completely different look. I've got a cutting guide in the description for the two blocks that I'm making. I've got two 4.5-inch squares of a dark fabric. Next, I need some 4.5 by 5-inch rectangles. I need 4 of them in a dark color and 4 of them in a light color. Last, I need 4 5 by 5-inch squares in a medium color, and then 4 5 by 5-inch squares in my light background color. We are going to be making some half-square triangles and what I call half-square rectangles. For the 5-inch by 5-inch squares, I'm drawing a line diagonally across the background squares. So I'll have 4 of these. And make sure if you've got a right and a wrong side of your fabric, draw the line on the wrong side. For the half-square rectangles, we're drawing the line to bisect in half the 5-inch side, so I'm just drawing a line 2.5 inches across. I'm taking these to the sewing machine now. I'm going to place my 5-inch squares right sides together, and I am going to stitch on one side of the line I drew about 1/4 inch away. I'll be doing the same thing with the half-square rectangles. I'm going to chain piece them all, flip all the units around, and sew on the other side of that line as well. Next, I will cut all these units on the line that I drew. Then I will take them to the iron, press them open to the darker side. Once they are pressed, we're going to trim these blocks. Starting with the half-square triangle, I use the diagonal line on my ruler, line it up with my seam, make sure the left and the bottom edges overlap 4.5 inches. Then I trim the right, the top. Then I flip the unit around, lining it up with 4.5 inches and the diagonal line, and trim the other two sides. Trimming the half-square rectangle is a little easier. I'm just lining up the 2 1/4 line on my ruler with that seam, and then I'm trimming away the excess to get it down to 4.5 inches. Now it's time to lay out my block. I start in the middle with my 4.5-inch dark squares. Then in a T shape, I put the half square rectangles. And then in the four corners, I will be putting the half square triangles. This churn dash pattern, which is a variation on shoe fly, it's really fun to try it out with different fabrics, lights, darks, maybe add a fourth color, and flip these little units around and come up with the block that you want to make. Now, starting with row 1, I'm going to be chain piecing the first and second block of each row. Then I will go back and add that third block for each row, and then we'll put these rows together to complete the block. When I put these rows together, I'm flipping row 2 up onto row 1, making sure I have them going the right way, of course. And then the seams between the units, I'm going to be using the nesting technique. One seam is going to go the other one way and one seam is going to go the other way, and you can just use your fingers and get them nested into place. Then I'll put a clip, and that'll hold it in place till I get to the sewing machine. I will also clip on row 3 at the same time. Then I just have to do the stitching one time and the block is done. Well, these little Scrappy sampler blocks turned out so nice. I love this look. I cannot wait to get these 10 blocks done and see how all these look in my finished quilt. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope to see you back again real soon.